So hi, welcome to End Credit Reviews, an episode of After the Credits on End Credit Reviews. It's just me, Tyler, this time from End Credit Reviews, and this is my review on the movie Ready or Not. So Ready or Not is the new horror dark comedy that has been released recently in theaters. It's about a woman named Grace who is recently married and is introduced to her new husband's family, the Ladomes? I'm trying to remember how you pronounce it, but anyway, the game is hide and seek, and little does she know until later on that it's a hunt to the death, which means that she is hunted and she has to save her own life. So a movie like this one I noticed got interesting amount of attention because I was sort of interested in the trailer for the movie. However, I noticed that when the IMDB scores came out for it at first, it was a 6.5 out of 10, but then later raised up to at least a 7 out of 10, which is typically very unusual because usually on IMDb when a movie first comes out for ratings, it typically starts off pretty high and then it goes down in the ranking system. But this is probably the rare moment where it went upward, so that also made me a bit more excited to see this movie. And I gotta say the movie was decent. So I will say the good stuff I liked about the movie, I did like how it did a good job of balancing the horror and dark comedy moments. There was some pretty funny stuff in it that I won't spoil about the funny stuff, and there was some very good, effective horror stuff in it as well. I do like the lead actress of the movie, Grace, played by Samara Weaving. I'm trying to remember if that's how you pronounce her first name or not, but I heard that she is the niece of actor Hugo Weaving. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. At first, when her character was introduced, I was like, oh, hopefully she's not just the NPC keywords of a Tumblr user with like, oh yeah, my game face and that. Like, oh god, please don't let her be like this throughout the rest of the movie. And she's not, so I was really happy that they did that. Also, in addition to this, I did like how they were kind of playing with the idea of, do you really need to do this hunt or not? And the movie did a fairly decent job of wondering, oh, is she going to get out of this? Or in all the various twists and turns. I also like how this movie has its own kind of mythos, and it does have its own set of rules, and it does follow the rules pretty well, and doesn't really contradict itself. Alright, so the stuff I didn't like about the movie. So in order for me to talk about that, I would have to get into the spoiler segment, so fast forward to this part if you don't want to be spoiled. I think my biggest issue with this movie was the third act, because the character who is the husband of Grace in this movie was someone who was like, oh, I love her and I'm not gonna, sacrifice her or that. But then later in the movie, in the last 15 minutes, it's been firmly established how much he's going out of his way to save her and help her, how much he loves her, and then suddenly he does a complete 180 and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna sacrifice you now. And then everyone at the end, because they don't sacrifice her, because the sun rises, they all explode because of this deal that an ancestor of theirs had a long time ago with what we assume would be probably the devil. And I felt like that was funny and violent, and again, part of the horror genre, dark comedy thing. But personally, I felt like what kind of ruined the movie for me was that whole 180 thing by one of this character that really did contradict it, and I felt like his reason why was pretty weak, I would say. So overall, for Ready or Not, I think it's a fairly decent, hunter kind of movie. We've seen these kind of movies before, all the way going back to the Most Dangerous Game story that eventually got its own movie, and we've later seen it in other movies such as Predator and Battle Royale, The Hunger Games, and so on. In fact, there was this other movie, I forgot the name of it, that was supposed to be released in theaters that was kind of similar to this one, but I guess it's shelved for now. I do think that this movie is fairly decent and very competent and well written and well acted, and the story for the most part is pretty good and fairly entertaining has its moments. But again, my big issue, what really did hurt this movie was the last 15 minutes with this decision that this one character did that really did contradict what he was doing before. So as for Ready or Not, I would give it about 2.5 stars out of 4. So anyway, this is Tyler from End Credit Reviews on an episode of After the Credits on End Credit Reviews, and I hope to make a lot more in the future. Please like and subscribe.